We're gonna have a kind of a different episode. I'm not going over any numbers. I know I have my Excel chart here, but that's just basically because I have a piece of content I want to share with you in a minute and talk about kind of something that's happened in the economy that just hit me today. And um, the video I'm going to share with you, they kind of talk about it, but they come this close to hitting the real reason. Um, and we're going to talk about today. So specifically, um, we're going to talk about how things are getting more expensive. Electricity is getting more expensive. If you lumber, milk, gasoline, everything. Just a lot of these fundamental resources that are kind of on the front end of the production process or manufacturing process. We have a chip shortage, so it's like they have a hard time making cars. Just a number of things going on. Um, and why it's going on. So specifically, we're gonna watch about 4 minutes of Tucker Carlson this morning, just the beginning of his monologue, and we're gonna stop at about 4 minutes because he comes close. He comes close to hitting it. He hits all the underlying things that are going on, and he tries to I guess he tries to piece it together, but he misses one point. And I'm gonna actually dot that I for you guys. So we're gonna watch till 4:08 in this video. So here we go.
So what would happen if you gave a group of angry, ignorant ideologues, the same people who tell you that all lives don't matter, what would happen if you gave them the keys to the U.S. economy? We don't need to guess about that. We are finding out now because all around us there are signs that under this White House, things are getting dangerously flaky in our economy. Here's one example. The official government jobs numbers came out today. Unemployment is up, far higher than expected. Close to 14 million Americans say they want to work but cannot find a job. That's an old story. Here's the new twist. At the very moment that unemployment is rising, fewer people are working, American businesses say they can't find employees. And it's obvious they can't. Go to the nearest strip mall and count the help wanted signs on the doors. They're everywhere. Restaurants are closing because they can't find anyone to hire, so are manufacturing plants. That means America now has far too many workers, but simultaneously far too few workers. How can that be? Another question. What happened to all the consumer products? Many of the things that you buy and need to buy are more expensive than they've ever been. Inflation is real, it's galloping. Yet at the same time, a lot of products seem to have gone missing completely. The United States is currently experiencing shortages of chicken, generators, roofing materials, lumber, ketchup, bicycles, diapers, ammunition, automobiles, plastics, appliances, chlorine, pork, propane tanks, among many other things. Keep in mind, this is peacetime. We haven't mobilized for a foreign war. Yet we're now getting reports that we should brace for a gas shortage this summer. Why is this all happening? Well, because things are so great in the economy. That's what they're telling us on television.
This week, there were more signs that the U.S. economy is roaring back to life, and they come as President Biden is proposing trillions of dollars in new government spending.
All right. So we're not done yet, but that lady right there gave you a little cheat sheet, so to speak, a little sneak peek of the 2 points that we're going to hit at the very end of this. They're going to talk about inflation and they're going to talk about the economy roaring to life, but it's not going to be what you think. I'm telling you, I had this realization this afternoon, and nobody's talking about it. I've not heard anybody talk about it, but when I tell you what it is, a light's going to go off and you're going to understand it.
It's really good news. This week, we found out that in the first quarter of this year, the economy expanded at a 6.4% annualized rate. That is huge.
Could we see a great economy and a lousy return for the stock market?
Becky, I think the good news for everybody is that we're actually probably going to see both, that we're going to continue to see a strong economy, and we also are set up actually for some great equity market returns here.
There's an awful lot of lying in financial journalism. No one ever says that, but it's self-evident. But they're telling us things are great. Why are they telling us that? Well, because the stock market is way, way up. Could it be overvalued? I don't know. Take a look at those price to earnings ratios. Can they continue? Is that reality-based? Should we be worried? Oh, just relax. But be sure to stock up on gasoline and diapers if you can. We could be looking at Soviet grocery shelves soon. And whatever you do, keep ignoring the inflation right in front of you. Oil prices, for example.
So he's starting to get it, starting to get number one. He's starting to identify one of the two things we're going to talk about today, which is really important. Oil is up 12%, and that we're going to actually talk about why, one, that affects kind of what we're going to talk about. And two, it actually leads right into part of factor number two that no one except me is talking about.
They've risen 12% in a single month. Steel prices have tripled since last year. Chicken breast prices have doubled just since Biden became president. The price of eggs has increased by almost 5%. Major appliances up almost 15%. Ground beef and fresh fruits both up almost 6%. The median sales price of existing homes has shot up by 16%.
By the way, so real quick, we're almost done. We got a few more seconds, but think about that. You got meat, chicken, eggs, and then you look at wages going up, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. He was saying later on, not part of what we're going to watch today, but there's a restaurant here in San Diego that's paying its dishwashers $21 an hour. And I was thinking, man, I might go wash some dishes. Wages are up. So restaurant, chicken's up, eggs up, beef is up. Um, all of those things are up, and yet, what do you think is going to happen to the price of things? So, um, anyway, that's part of it. So let's finish up, and we'll get to exactly the 2 points that you really need to be paying attention to that literally you're not going to hear anywhere else.
Percent. And then there's lumber. Have you noticed lumber? Since last year, the price of dimensional lumber has gone up by almost 300%.
By the way, dimensional lumber just means the ones that are cut into 2x4s. 2x4, those are dimensions. So that's what he means by dimensional lumber.
Want 1,000 board feet? That'll cost you $1,359. That price has never been higher. According to the National Association of Home Builders, the cost of building materials adds more than $35,000 to the price of an average new home.
All right, so he talked about two things. Oh, no, actually, he talked about one thing, and we're going to hit on the second thing. And the second thing's bigger. So we talked about inflation. So everything's going up. Oil's going up. Lumber's going up. Chicken's going up. Steak's going up. Eggs are going up. I mean, everything is going up. And there's two reasons for it, okay? So that's the underlying factor of all these things that are going up. The question is, why is it going up? Well, there's two things that are behind it. And the first one is one you might hear on TV from time to time, and it plays a role, but I don't think it's the dominant role. And it's definitely not going to be the dominant role going forward. In fact, I think the second factor we're going to talk about is actually going to be way more dominant in a month or two than it is right now. So specifically, we covered all the areas that inflation is going up. Why is that? Well, number one, he talks about the fact that the federal government, and it's not a Democrat or Republican thing. Just leave it at that. We're not going partisan, okay? The federal government is shoveling, and it's been both administrations, has been shoveling trillions and trillions of dollars. And then point blank, a dollar is worth a percent. I mean, literally all a dollar is a percentage of the money supply. So to boil it down to something very simple, if there's $100 in existence and you have one of them, you have 100th of the money supply. But then what happens if they just all of a sudden print $1,000? Well, you don't have 100th of the money supply anymore. You have 100,000th of a money supply. So the best kind of pop culture thing where you can see this was in the movie The Social Network, where Edward Stavron was Mark Zuckerberg's partner. They basically screwed him out of the company because when they added all these venture capitalist people and their money, normally what they do is they have non-dilutable shares, which means if I own 50% of the company and I bring all this venture capital money in, I'm going to get as many shares as necessary that I still have 50% of the shares. But what they did in his was they basically added all this money and then they made his dilutable, which means he went from I'm making up numbers, 30% to 0.5%. And so that's kind of what inflation is. Every time when you see the federal government spend $1 trillion, all they're doing is diluting the value of your dollar. And so if it costs, let's say last year, I'm making up numbers, if it costs $1 for a hamburger, and then you shove $1 trillion, $2 trillion, $6 trillion in there, well, you need a certain percentage of the money supply to buy that hamburger. And the more dollars there are out there, the more dollars you need to get that percentage of the money supply. And so instead of $1, you now have to pay $3 for the hamburger. I'm making up numbers. It's not the exact number, but that's the idea behind it. And that does play into why some of these are going up. But the real thing that nobody's talking about, and the reason I wanted to make this video, I wasn't even going to make a video today because I wanted to make sure that I have something for you guys. So if you're watching my video, there's solid, amazing stuff, and I'm not just making a video to make a video. But the second point that nobody is talking about is that demand is going up. You heard Tucker Carlson say that, but that's not what I'm going to talk about. Demand's going up. The economy's open. Texas is open. Baseball stadiums are opening. California is going to be fully open June 15th. New York is pretty much fully open. Florida's open. Texas is open. Georgia's open. Tennessee's almost open. Ohio's pretty much open. I mean, all these states are opening up. So you have demand going up, people spending money. And when you look at that, you have to look at supply chain. And most of you guys don't know much about supply chain. I know a little bit about it, but basically, let's say that you have a restaurant and you go from serving 100 people a day to 500 people a day. You're going to need 5 times as much supply. You're going to need more bottles of wine. You're going to need more kegs of beer. You're going to need more pounds of ground beef. You're going to need more bags of potatoes. You're going to need all of that, right? So demand's going up, but what's happening is, and this is all over the news today, but nobody's connecting these dots, is people are getting paid more money to stay at home than they are to go to work. Okay, that's why the guy had to pay $21 to get a dishwasher because he couldn't pay anybody a dishwasher at 12 bucks an hour. And then it was 15 bucks an hour and 18 bucks. So it's almost like bidding for wages is really what it is. And so it got to a point where he had to pay $21 for a dishwasher. Well, if I'm the chef, I better be making a lot more than my dishwasher. And so prices go up, and then eggs and chicken and beef go up. Like it's going to be tough for that restaurant guy, right? So you have all these employees that are staying home because guess what? They're smart people. They do the math and they say, man, I could make more money sitting at home than working because if you go to work, you lose your unemployment and then you basically have to make what you have to make. But now all of a sudden you have to be at work. So you go at work, make less money. Maybe you have a bad boss. Maybe you have a bad working environment. Maybe you just have to be at work and you like sitting home watching Netflix and you're getting paid more to watch Netflix than otherwise. So what happens is these people stay at home and they're not productive. So these companies that are, and I'm not talking about end use companies like restaurants necessarily, but let's say that you are in the Midwest and you're a tool maker, right? Or you're a chicken farmer in Iowa, right? So then all of a sudden you can't find workers, so you basically have a production cap. You can only make so much chicken, or you can only make so much beef, or you can only make so much whatever, right? Maybe you're somebody in the timber industry. You only have so many workers, so you can only cut down so many trees. And people are building houses, and there's a bidding war for your lumber. And next thing you know, as we see on the screen, it goes up 280%. So that's what's going on. Is this price of the government artificially paying people to stay home while demand is going through the roof? It's making everything go up. It's making wages go up, and it's making raw materials go up. And so a couple states, and I know one of them, but I forget the second one. I think it was Montana and Wyoming. I could be wrong. I think it's Montana and another state have basically just said, that's it. We're not doing any of this anymore. We're not taking federal subsidies anymore. And they're actually paying people. I think it was $1,200 to go off unemployment because there's so many jobs. I mean, there's so many jobs and people just aren't taking them. So they're literally bribing people to get off the unemployment and then take all the jobs, and you're gonna get a job there for sure, and that's gonna pay for itself in what, a month, maybe 2 months max. So the state's gonna make money easily by paying somebody $1,200. So the solution is really simple. Now it's not for us. I'm just telling you the solution is simple, but it's something that politicians hate doing. So don't count on it happening real quick. You have to end these unemployment subsidies. They were great last year this time, but you can't do it a year later. You have to cut these off. So what I want you guys to watch for, and this is kind of going to guide decisions on what to buy and what not to buy, and maybe even what to sell, because I haven't talked about that, is watching the relationship between how fast things are opening up and the unemployment numbers. Like the unemployment rate went up. They were expecting 1 million new jobs this last month or quarter. I forget which is the month or quarter. And it was only 225. And they had a guy in the news that was so low, that number was so low, he actually had to double check his numbers on the air because he thought he read it wrong, right? So we want to look at this demand going up. We paid attention to a lot of that on this podcast, but We want to look at demand going up, but we also want to look at the conversation going on about unemployment being subsidized by the federal government, these bonus unemployment payments. Because what's going to happen is these prices are going to go up, and one of two things is going to happen. One is you're going to see these businesses decide to start paying a lot more money to their employees to get them in because they're bidding against the federal government in a sense on what you're being paid. So just making up numbers here, but let's say the normal rate for a particular job is $10 and the federal government's paying you 15 to stay at home. It's like being at an auction. You got to pay them 16 or $17 to get them off their butt because it's not only do you have to pay them more money, but you have to pay a premium that pays for their basically leisure time. So it's not like, oh, $15 to stay at home and watch Netflix. Oh, $15.25 to go to work. Nobody's going to do that. But maybe it's 18, maybe it's 19, maybe it's $21 to wash dishes. I even thought about washing dishes when I thought about that. Guys in San Diego, who knows? I could drop by there and maybe make some money. Um, but you're going to see that go up. But once you do that, once you see that go up, along with all the other raw materials, you're going to see prices go up, which means it costs more to go out to dinner. So, and then the question is, do people go out to dinner the same amount and spend a lot more money? Or do they take the same amount per month and going out to dinner, but maybe instead of going out to dinner 4 times, they go out to dinner 2 times or 3 times? So, some things to look at. So, those two things we're going to pay attention to. I'm going to be talking about. I want you to talk about. If you have any questions, let me know. But nobody is talking about that. The reason all these things are going up, yeah, the federal government's spending a lot more money, but these insane percentage increases in the cost of durable goods and raw materials and wages even is really due to the fact that you have this economy that's taking off and the employees are sitting home. And so there's all this, what they call in business, excess capacity where they could make more, do more, produce more. They just don't have the manpower. And so at some point, it's either going to stay where that production is low or they're going to make a decision to pay people more. But still, it's like that's not going to bring the cost of it down. And so it might be a little bit, but you're going to end up paying more. So we'll see if they can, in a sense, bid more money to pay people to get more. Maybe the cost of these things is going to go down. But then again, that brings its own set of inflation. So I'm not going to go any farther, but it was a big, big thing I noticed, and I had to do the video for you. So if you have any questions, let me know. I know it's a couple things were probably over some of your guys' head. If you have any questions about that, let me know, and I'd be glad to clear some things up. So with that being said, we will see you guys next week. To get more information on the sales cheat code, go ahead and click on the subscribe button below. Also, down below in the video description, down there, there's a link that takes you to our website that gives you additional content, some additional freebies that we have, and gives you information on some programs that we have that have been proven to help people to make sales easy so that you can make the kind of money you want, live the lifestyle that you've always wanted, and not have to struggle in the process. And what might be the coolest thing of all is you don't have to put much effort into it. It truly is a cheat code that most people don't know about. And it's a cheat code that can change your life today. So click on the link below and let me help you start to experience these results starting right now. To get more information on the sales cheat code, go ahead and click on the subscribe button below. Also, down below in the video description, down there, there's a link that takes you to our website that gives you additional content, some additional freebies that we have, and gives you information on some programs that we have that have been proven to help people to make sales easy so that you can make the kind of money you want, live the lifestyle that you've always wanted, and not have to struggle in the process. And what might be the coolest thing of all is you don't have to put much effort into it. It truly is a cheat code that most people don't know about. And it's a cheat code that can change your life today. So click on the link below and let me help you start to experience these results starting right now.